All right, fifth graders, for today in writing, we are going to start a unit called Personal Narratives. Personal means yourself. Narrative is a story. So we're going to be writing personal stories. Today, what you're going to need before you continue is your writing notebook, the composition notebook. If you do not have that at home, grab a different notebook that you can cut and paste when you get back to class. So composition notebook and a sharp pencil. Once you have those two things, you can continue. Press pause right now as you gather those materials. All right, so now you have those two materials. Today what we're going to do is we're going to read a story called Knots in My Yo-Yo String. It's an autobiography of a kid, and the kid is Jerry Spinelli. Have you ever heard of that author? He's a Newbery medalist. That's a picture of him right down on towards the bottom of the book. An autobiography is when the author writes about himself. Auto means self. Biography is a story of yourself. All right, so think about Jerry Spinelli. Do you know any other books that he has written about? Here are some books that he has written. Ringer, Star Girl, oh, I love that book. Loser, what is that one? Loser Again. Maniac McGee, that's such a good book. Crash, some other ones. If you would like to learn more about Jerry Spinelli, you can go to his website at thejerryspinelli.weebly.com. Sorry guys, my phone is going nuts. All right, so if you'd like to go there, you can search up some more books by him. He's a really great author. But today we're going to read the story called Never the Monkey. And this is about Jerry Spinelli, of course, growing up in Pennsylvania in the 1950s. He writes about something that is special to him that he owns. It's special to him because it reminds him of how happy and proud he was in his childhood. So as we're reading, think about items that you could write about. Not a story that you could write about, not an event, but an item. You can follow along as I read. In a green metal box in a bedroom closet, tucked into a fuzzy gray cotton pouch, lies the most cherished memento of my grade school days. It's a gold-plated medal, no bigger than a postage stamp. Inscribed on the back are the words, 50-yard dash champion. The medal came from the only official race I ever participated in. There were many unofficial ones. Race you to the store. Last one in's a monkey. Ready, set, go. Like kids the world over, we raced to determine the fastest. In the early 1950s, on the 800 block of George Street in the West End of Norristown, Pennsylvania, that was me. I was usually the winner and never the monkey. Now I'm going to stop here because I am making huge connections. I am using my schema. I'm bringing back background knowledge. And that's the focus that we had last week. My schema is when I was about Spinelli's age, my sisters used to get me to do work for them by saying, "You're the fastest, go run and get me a glass of water." Or, "I'll time you, let's see if you can get it under 10 seconds. And every time I fell for it. But I tell them that's how I became fast. So, all right, hopefully you're thinking about memories or books you've already read that has had a race in them. Remember Number the Stars when they were racing to the stop sign? Okay, so that's using your schema. All right, back to the story, and I am right here. I reached my peak at the age of 12. That summer, I led the Norristown Little League in stolen bases. Connection, I used to steal bases all the time. In an all-star playoff game, I did something practically unheard of. I was safe at first base on a ground ball to the pitcher. Some days I pulled my sneaker laces extra tight and went down to the railroad tracks. The cinders there had the feel of a running track. I measured off 50 yards or 100 yards and sprinted the distance, timing myself with my father's stopwatch, sometimes heading back to the starting line. I tried to see how fast I could run on the railroad ties. Sometimes I ran on the rail. It was during that year that I won my medal. I represented how Hardin in the 50-yard dash at the annual track and field meet for the Norristown grade schools. The meet was held at Roosevelt Field, where the high school track and football teams played. Favored to win the race was Laverne Dixon of Gotwells Elementary, Froggy, as he was known to everyone, but his teachers had won the 50-yard dash the year before as a mere fifth grader. Hold on, let me reread that. That didn't sound right. Froggy, as he was known to everyone, but his teachers, had won the 50-yard dash the year before as a mere fifth grader. Surely he would win again. My goal was to take second. When the starter barked, "Ready!" I got into position, one knee and 10 fingers on the cinder track. I knew what to do from the many meets I had attended with my father. I glanced to my left and right and saw nothing but shins. Everyone else was standing. I could not have known it then, but the race was already mine. I was off with the gun. My memory of those 50 yards had nothing to do with sprinting, but rather with two sensations. This led to a startling conclusion. Sorry. Let me back up. The first was surprise that I could not see any other runners. This led to a startling conclusion. I must be ahead, which led to the second sensation, an anxious expectation, awaiting to be overtaken. I never was. I won. Froggy Dixon didn't even come in second. That went to Billy Steinberg, a stranger then, who would become my best friend in junior high school. He would also grow to be faster than I, as would many of my classmates. But that was yet to come. For the moment, as I slowed down and trotted into the sun, the color and dazzle of the medal I was about to receive, I knew only the wonder of 7 astounding seconds when no one was ahead of me. And there's a photograph of Jerry Spinelli. How do you say that name? Hartranft. I can't really read that. The 50-yard dash champion at Hartranft Elementary, age 12, 1953. Now what I want you to do is think about these two questions after we just read Never the Monkey. What events does Jerry Spinelli tell about in this story? And why do you think he might have chosen to tell this story? All right, after you've answered those questions in your head, you can make sure you have your writing notebook. That's number 1. Number 2, turn to your writing ideas. This should be at the end. And we have generated a list of fairy tale endings. And right now, I want you to think of your own special objects that you might write about. I added some here. I said a trophy, a jersey, salt and pepper shaker. That's from my uncle when he was in the Korean War. A stuffed animal, and that stuffed animal is Spot, which is in the classroom, the green dog. A picture that I have of my grandma, and maybe a blanket that you've received. I have received one from my grandma. So those are the items that I might be writing about. So right now, generate a list of 5 to 10 items that you might want to talk about in your personal narrative. Now go to the front of your writing notebook and find an open page that you can start writing about your object. As you see, I got started on mine, although it's not an object. It's exactly what I want you to be doing. So I want you to put the date, 10/26 or 27 or 28 or 29, whichever date you're writing about this. The object that is special to me. As you are writing about your object, please remember to ... Number 1, start all the way to the left of the notebook, almost touching the red line. And I gave you an indicator. Do you see where the arrow is pointing? That red line. It should be flush with the red line. Number 2, skip a line. Number 3, if you make a mistake, just cross it off and keep going. Otherwise, you're going to be erasing, forgetting what you were going to talk about. This is a rough draft, also known as a sloppy copy. And then finally, make sure to finger space. I want you to make it easy for those who are going to be reading your piece to read it. So finger space. So you can get started writing about one of the objects.